Alright, today you're going to learn how to plot points with negative numbers on a coordinate plane. That's your learning target. And your vocabulary words are axis, quadrant, and coordinates. An axis is a number line on the coordinate plane. A quadrant is one of the four regions created by the x and y axis. And coordinates are a set of numbers that show a location on the coordinate plane. So to make that make more sense, let's draw a picture. A coordinate plane looks like this. It's not a plane like an airplane. It's a plane like a flat plane, kind of like the Great Plains. So we've got an x-axis. That's the across number line. You've got a y-axis. That's the up and down number line, the vertical number line, and those each have numbers just like a number line would. Okay, now that separates your graph into four regions, and the regions are region 1, right here, region 2, right here, region 3, right here, and region 4 right here. Those are called quadrants. The first quadrant in the upper right, I'll just put a Q, is quadrant 1. The upper left is quadrant 2. The bottom left is quadrant 3, and you'll see they use Roman numerals to mark the quadrants. And the bottom right is quadrant 4, and so that's an I and a V. That's Roman numeral 4. Okay. Coordinates. So far we know what an axis is. We know what a quadrant is. And coordinates is the last vocabulary word. It's a set of numbers that shows a location on the coordinate plane. So this location right here is over 3 from the center. The center is called the origin. That's another word that you probably should know, but it's not critical. So the origin is where the axes cross. So from the origin, to get to that point that I marked, you go over 3 and up 1. So that is the coordinates for that point. Okay, kind of sloppy, but you'll see more as we go. Okay, so first step in how to plot points with negative numbers. Let's look right here. The first number tells you how far across you go from the origin. Positive is to the right and negative is to the left. The second number tells you how far up or down you go. Positive is up and negative is down. And we'll worry about this last step after you see the first example. So now I'm going to plot this first point. 1, 3. So let's look back at the steps. So the first number tells me how far I go from the origin. So the origin is this spot right in the middle. So the first number is a 1, so I'm going to go 1, and because 1 is positive, I'm going to go to the right 1. So I'm going to go over this way, 1 over. Second number tells me how far to go up or down. A positive 3 means I go up 3, so I go up 1, 2, 3. Right there is my point. I can label the point. Now with coordinates, the coordinates are always put in parentheses, and so this is point 1, 3, over 1 and up 3. Okay, now I'm going to plot this second point. I'm going to go to negative 1, 3. So I'm going to start at the origin again. Negative means move to the left. Remember, the first number means how far you go across. So I'm going to go across 1 to the left, and then the second number means up 3. So that point is negative 1, 3. Now let's look at this third step. If you change the sign of a coordinate, the point reflects, it's supposed to say across an axis. So I'm not going to go back and type that again, I'm just going to write it there. The point reflects across an axis. So here's our first point. The difference in point 1 and point 2 is the second point has a negative sign. So if I change the 1 to a negative, all that does is make the point flip across that y-axis. That's the y-axis there. This is the x-axis. So if you change the x-coordinate, the first coordinate, if you change its sign, it flips over the y-axis. Okay? Now, I'm going to plot the third point. -1, -3. So I'm going to start at the origin. I'm going to go -1. That means 1 to the left. 3 down. Puts it down here. And that is -1, -3. So all that did from the second point to the third point, look at the second point's coordinates, -1, 3. Third point's coordinates, the second coordinate, the 3, changed to a negative, so it reflected across the x-axis. Reflect means go onto the other side of the axis the same distance. So you can see I went down 3 to the axis and then 3 more below the axis. That's called a reflection. Okay? Before you do your classroom example, I just want to point out a couple things. This first quadrant, quadrant 1, all of the coordinates will be positive there. Both coordinates will be positive. In quadrant 2, over here, I don't know why I used a normal 2. I should have used a Roman numeral 2. I was testing you. The first coordinate is always going to be negative, and the second coordinate will always be positive in quadrant 2. In quadrant 3, both coordinates will be negative. And in quadrant 4, if there was a point that we plotted over there, the first point would be positive and the second point would be negative. Alright, lastly, one thing I want to show you before you move on. The coordinate points, these points right here, are always in the format x, y. So that -1 is the x-coordinate, the -3 is the y-coordinate. They're called that because the x-coordinate tells you how far to go on the x-axis, and the y-coordinate tells you how far to go on the y-axis. Alright, so now do your classroom example. Plot -2, 0. You're going to have to sketch a coordinate plane on your notes page and show me where -2, 0 would be. Make sure that you label the point of -2, 0. Make sure you write the coordinates next to it. Alright, good luck. See you soon.